Hello, everyone. My name is Josh. Today is a very special day. It is launch day. Launch day. Where's the streamers? Boom, boom, boom. Finally, we're here. Launch day. You can see the numbers starting to tick up here as we get going. So I'm going to go to my own live, which we always have to do so that I can see the comments, and then we can get started on this. It is a huge, momentous day for us. So we are 3 hours into launch on launch day. It's huge. It's massive. I'm super, super pumped. So we took the morning to get some of the kinks out. So did the photography, got some of the kinks out of the system, get our processes working. You're always going to find something that's going to hold you up. So that was really probably today and the next couple of days is just feeling that out and making sure that everything is going the way we need it to go and that the processes are bulletproof and everything else. But still $3,318 listed on our first day launch day. So that's where we're at noon. $3,318. We still have the rest of the day. We have tomorrow, the day after, et cetera, et cetera. But this is a massive, massive thing. This is the first day. I want to remember this day. This is our launch day. I'm really, really excited to be here. I'm pumped for it. So welcome, everyone. This is launch day. Off we go to the races. We're going to start seeing these numbers tick up pretty quick, I would imagine, especially as we get everything lined up the way we need to line it up. Get all the kinks out of the system. Get all the bugs out of the system. So I am back from Florida. It was beautiful. I mean, Southwest Florida is just beautiful. I'm happy to be back, for the launch, but I'm not happy to be back for the weather. It was just really beautiful down there. People were great. The sun, the activity. I always love going to places where people are very active. So that's how I feel about Southwest Florida. They're really big on activity and getting outside and doing things, and I really enjoy that about that part of the world. So I had a lot of fun. I'm happy to be back, and now it's nose to the grindstone. We're gonna grind hard now. We have Flex soon. Again, working on some error handling stuff, but this is going to be soon too. So this is a big year for us. This is a big launch for us, and I'm super pumped for it. So we're at $3,318 days live. We are technically zero. But maybe we'll switch that to 1 once we get going. And I don't even want to see if I can do that myself because I will screw it up. I will definitely screw it up. But yeah, so we're live. That's it. We're going. We're pumped. Here we are. We're doing it. We got our stuff. We got our groove. Everything's going. So it's awesome. Upstate Picker, good morning. Good to see you. Missy B, good morning. Launch day. How exciting. It is super exciting. And I have a few stories to tell you also about coming back from the trip, which are super funny. So I'm going to tell you those stories as well. Marilyn Wilson says, good morning from Arkansas. Good morning to you. Welcome, welcome, Marilyn. Good to see you again. M. Cole 42 says, good morning and congrats. Thank you. It's exciting. It's a big, big monster of a day. This represents a major turning point for us in our business. So I was, for the past 30 days, this is all we've been thinking about. So now here we are out of the gate and going. And always remember too, with anything you do, it's not a sprint out of the gate. So it's when you start something like this or any business, when you're off the line, it's like a marathon. It's like you don't sprint. It's more of a run forever. Like just run forever. The finish is so far away you can't see it. So we're off the line and it's run forever, and I'm excited for it. Dende Cordipo says, hello, Josh. We were suspended on Etsy, losing half our income last night. We'll be hitting List Easier hard to just flood our stores. Good luck with the launch. Thank you, Den Decor. Why were you suspended on Etsy? What would they have suspended you for? Is it over their vintage policy? See, and these are the things too. So, for example, if you were to tie List Easier in with a platform like Etsy, then there would be things that we would have to watch. I mean, we're not there yet, but we would have to watch things like, is it actually vintage or not? All this other stuff. But let me know why you got suspended on Etsy. That sucks. That sucks, Den Decor. But yeah, hammer away. Hammer away. Get that stuff up. Biff said, great, or mild-eyed melancholy says, great insight on the PPP over the weekend. It was an interesting conversation, Biff. We really got into the weeds of things. We always kind of have these sorts of conversations where are things going? Where is it at right now? But rarely do we really get into the more technical side. It doesn't always appeal to everyone, but we went down that direction in the last episode, and it really kind of sussed out some great information. So if you haven't seen the PPP, please check it out. John, I thought, brought up some really good points about what is user generated content versus user regenerated or platform regenerated content. I thought that was really interesting. It was a good discussion. So yeah, it was a really cool discussion. I had fun with it. Jovial Juggler says, happy launch day. Congrats. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. And don't forget also that at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Primo and Spam are coming on here. So they'll be on the Primo Chemo channel. So please, let's raid them afterwards and head over there. Good morning, says MK3914, and I believe that's Michelle Kirkpatrick, whom I met at the Las Vegas Open. So welcome, Michelle. It's good to see you again. Den Decor Depot says, we apparently listed something they didn't like, no explanation. I'd hit them back at that, Den Decor, because that's very, if one thing is listed wrong, that's very heavy-handed for them to suspend you. I don't feel like that's right. Eric Bressy says, good morning. Good morning to you, Eric. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you again, of course. Derek W. Pat says, hello, Josh and chat. Happy Monday. Good to see you. Eric Bressy says, well, List Easier is working close with eBay. Do you still have to jump through the beginner store hurdles? So what Eric is asking is, we work with eBay. Do we have to go through all the kind of trials and tribulations of a new store? And the answer is absolutely yes. Absolutely. So List Easier doesn't get any special exemptions from eBay. If anything, will be looked at with a little bit more scrutiny. So we are slowly launching. So we're not going to list, tens of thousands of items like right off the hop. We're slowly easing into it. We're looking to make sure that our processes and everything are in place. We don't want to put ourselves in a position, this is advice that we've said on here, is don't go from 0 to 100 miles per hour. Slowly advance the accelerator and build it up over time, and that's what we're doing. So we're going to have all the same issues and all the same trials and tribulations as anyone else who would start a store. Derek W. Pat says, I'm eating my bowl of cereal, then I have to head out. Going out thrifting is one of the few things I need to get done today. Well, that's a good thing. That's a great thing that you have to get done. Marilyn Wilson says, I don't sprint. I just made up my mind just to dig in and get it done. I'm still working on digging in. Fair enough. Fair enough. We're all working on digging in, Marilyn, but absolutely consistency wins every single time. So there are people, and I was like this in my previous life earlier, where I'd get myself all jacked up and I would be like, that's it, let's go hard. And then I would go hard for a little bit and you could see it start to die off. Consistency wins every single time. It really does. Ms. Unites B-Nude says, good early afternoon, folks. Welcome, B-Nudes. Good to see you back again. Biff says, no Primo show today. My apology. I thought he was coming back in the new year. Primo, where are you? What's going on? Are you... Another hiatus. Okay, you're cranking it out. Nice. Good. Keep going. Mike Sellers says, congrats, Josh, on the launch. Best wishes. Thank you. Appreciate you, Mike Seller. Hi, Josh. Want to start working on List Easier right now? That's awesome. I love the fact that while we're doing this, you all are doing it as well. That's what the really awesome thing is. We're all moving in the same direction. So it's like this tidal wave sweeping across. We're all working together. We have the same goals. the same objectives. So that's really awesome. Okay, I'm going to tell you all a story. So Friday, I arrived in Fort Myers, Florida, but stayed in Naples. So arrived in Fort Myers, Florida, Friday, let's say around noon, around. Took an Uber down to Naples, North Naples, and then did the video that you guys saw. And after that, it was, grabbing some lunch and just walking around and doing the whole beach thing. And I was on the beach so long that we decided to stay for the sunset. And the sunset was spectacular. It was absolutely beautiful. Just as the sun was coming down, I want to say this is around 6 o'clock, this beautiful painted sky, we heard these sonic booms heading towards the Gulf, like one after another, after another, after another, after another. And I love planes. You all know that it's an interest in a hobby of mine. And I knew they were fighter jets crossing, boom, 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 one after another, after another. I didn't think too much of it because you don't know what kind of military exercise. I'm like, oh, well, I don't know what's going on, Then I read that all this stuff was going on in Venezuela in the morning. And I was like, wow, I actually heard those planes all leaving. That was crazy. It gets crazier. So later on that day, I start getting the notifications that the flights are being delayed because a lot of the flights in the area were getting canceled that were along the Gulf Shore. So because of the restricted airspace and everything else. So that has this like knock-on effect where planes are getting diverted and moved around and everything else, and the whole grid becomes a mess. So the delays start piling up. Sunday when I left, it was like one cancellation and delay after another. So this is Canadian logic in its best form. So the company that was flying us, Air Canada, they decided they were going to say, I'm sorry, and give everyone a drink voucher, basically a drink on us. Go inside the airport, go to the local eatery and get yourself a drink. It's on us. We're sorry. It's a $15 voucher or whatever. So they issue the voucher to everyone, and then the people go in to cash it in, and it doesn't work. So these people keep going back to the Air Canada counter saying that the drink tickets aren't working. So they just keep issuing more and more and more and more, but it turns out they had to notify the vendor. Once the vendor was notified, everything worked. Well, now we got a big problem because the flight, which was originally supposed to leave at 8 o'clock p.m., is now scheduled out to 3 o'clock in the morning. And all these miserable passengers have like half a dozen drink tickets. So everyone's in the bar drinking. And things start getting loud and everything else, and people are upset and delays and missed connections and all this other stuff. And there's really nothing Air Canada can do about it. It's not really their fault. Although if you gave them 2 airplanes and 1 passenger, they couldn't organize it, honestly. So one of the guys, a little tipsy, and has a bit of the twinkle in the eye, and he kind of like nudges over to a lady and said, hey, you're looking nice, everything else. Why don't we get a hotel room together and forget about this place and blah, blah, blah. She went to the Air Canada counter. Very upset about that. He was removed from the airport. So we were just about to board, and now we have the police, the Lee County Sheriff is removing people out of the airport because they're too drunk or whatever. And the whole thing was just insane. So I actually didn't fly out until 4 o'clock this morning. And then once I got through processing everything else, the time I got home, it was like 8:30, 9 o'clock by the time I got home. So I'm running a little bit on no sleep, but it's okay because I'm supercharged for this launch. It was a real kind of interesting, funny litany of events. And I don't know if I'm explaining it to its full capacity, but it was a comedy of errors. Although I have to say, I had a really good time. So I'm not the kind to drink at the bar. It would just make my whole week awful. But I was meeting a lot of people, a lot of really interesting people who had started businesses, who were flying back and forth, like expats, all this other stuff. So it was really interesting, and it was a lot of fun. but I am on 0 hours of sleep. David's on list easier. Den Decordipo says, we have run their automated appeals process. There are no humans to be found everywhere. That's very frustrating. That is very, very frustrating. It's one of the reasons why I like doing this live is because you will always have a face-to-face human. So if you do have any issues, you can reach out to me. You can email me. You can text me, whatever you want to do, and we'll make it better. I find that frustrating too, because sometimes it's a very simple thing you need done, but you need to talk to someone about it to just explain what it is, or you need someone just to push it through. And when you can't talk to anyone, I find it frustrating. Binut says at Den, no response then. If you're in the USA, you can go at it from legal fashions. Primo Kimo says, aloha, list easier posse. Congrats to you and the team. Thank you. We are still on hiatus this week, but we will be watching. Awesome, awesome. Eric Bressy says, eBay selling is fun again. It is fun, and it's also more fun when people are making money. So if you're listing and you're not making money, and it's a grind and you're always behind, that sucks to me. That's not fun. That's not something I want to wrap my identity in. That's certainly not how I want to conduct my business. But when you can let the software do all the hard parts, and you just got to get the items, take the photos, and then ship them, that's what we want to be doing. So now we're operating like real businesses, like real manufacturers, although we're not manufacturing, but real factories, I should say, where the process is clearly defined. And you've got to put the items into the process and it spits it out the other way. That's the way I want to do it. That's the way I want to do it. Binut says, any of these venues can suspend for any reason they like. It's true. However, you can get those reasons via court order. Oh, I find a lot of times Binuts with stuff like that you end up spending a whole lot of time and money, and they'll come up with a response like, I don't know, like risk management or risk aversion or something. And you're like, well, I spent all this time and money trying to get some answers, and then your answer is risk aversion, which is as broad as just not even telling me why. Yeah, Eric says, congrats on launch day. Thank you. It's awesome. It's super, super awesome. I love this. I'm so pumped for it. Rob Special Interest says, hope UK is just days away. Hello, Josh. It is so close. They're working on it, Rob. Every single day they're working on it. It's just clearing up the edge cases, but they're working on it every single day. There isn't a day that goes by that this thing isn't being worked on, 8, 9, 10 hours a day. So it's so close. Hang in there. You're going to love it once it's there. Binut says, maybe you should have stopped at Mar-a-Lago for a round of golf. He plays fast, I've heard. He plays really fast. Joe Samard says, good morning, all. Good morning, Joe, to you. Behind the Bubble Wrap says, howdy, folks. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Binut says, so you've become a part of his story, I mean history. Laugh out loud. It was wild to hear the Jets. It's something you never really hear in Canada. I've heard it in the US before, various coastal areas, or you can hear them do exercises and stuff. But I never saw one plane, but boy was it loud flying over, really loud. And I thought to myself, this would be terrifying to hear this in the sky and not be able to see anything, and just having these planes just rocketing overhead. By the time you hear the noise, they're already gone. Biff says, have you tweaked your PL, your promoted listing strategy in this new era? Is that proprietary? No, it's not proprietary. We'll disclose what our promoted listings are. I just don't know what they are. So I don't think we're there yet. We had to set up the shipping policies, business policies. None of that was set up. We had to work through some kinks with the workflow. So the camera setup and all of that. There's glare. There's all these little things that we had to work through. So I don't actually have that information, but I have no problem sharing that at all. That's not proprietary at all. And the store is list easier underscore records. So if you want to follow along, it's list easier underscore records. That's the first account. Darth Thrifter, my man, the River Sith says, "Hi Josh, just stopping by on my lunch. Have a great day." Thank you, Darth. I appreciate you. I was thinking about you as I saw people fishing off the big bridges in Florida over the weekend. Kelly Surf Dude says, "I thought Flex was rolling out today. Any updates?" Yeah, they had an edge case that they were working on. I don't remember what Dave said, what the problem was, but I think it was a fail safe. So there was some sort of negator or some sort of fail safe that they needed to clean up. But it's very, very close, Kelly. We're almost there. We're almost there. We're all excited for it. It's coming very soon. Foghorn Leg says, what was eBay's excuse? Any appeal option? Howdy y'all. Good to see you, Foghorn Leg. Good to see you. Yeah, it feels unjust, right, Foghorn Leg? If you have one mistake or one problem on a listing that Etsy would suspend you, that's brutal. Lucky Fine says, "Congrats to the team." Thank you. It's our launch day. It's a huge one. But also for a lot of people watching this is kind of launch day for them too. Over the past 30 days, a lot of people have been messaging saying 2026 is the year I'm going to step into it. And then the end of 2025, they were laying the groundwork, cleaning things up, getting everything ready. So for a lot of people, it's launch day. And I think for a lot of people, you're going to see massive, insane, crazy growth with their eBay businesses over the next year. I do think it is, this was something that was brought up in the Profit Playbook podcast, and it comes from Grumpy John. I don't know if all of you know him or not, but he said you will start seeing the gulf. You'll start seeing a gulf opening up between part-time hobbyists, people just looking to top up their income, that kind of crowd, and there's nothing wrong with it, but that level, and then the businesses. Like it will be hard to survive in the middle. Whereas there was once a time where it was easy. You could go, and we all remember those days where you could just go to a thrift store and buy Nintendo 64 games or Sega CD games or, Grateful Dead shirts. I did that. I remember that. I remember buying rock shirts from the 1970s, single stitch, for $2.99, and nobody knew the difference. And you could get a full-time income just playing the game that way. Now it's more process-oriented, where you need to have these processes that keep you efficient and keep you lean, but operating at a high level of production. Whereas part-time entry, topping up retirement, doing it as a hobby because you love it. And don't get me wrong, nothing wrong with any of this. And you can earn good extra income doing it that way. You'll have that crowd and they will never go anywhere. They'll always be there. They'll always be working away. They will adopt AI as well. But to them, it's not about scaling. It's more about giving them more free time. So it will make that sort of business style more enjoyable, gives them more time, more freedom to get out there and do what they want. But that in between, it's going to start widening. It really is. And people will have to decide which side of the fence they sit on. And whatever the decision, it's a good one. Eric Bresci says, "What are the 166 listings of?" They are on the store, list easier underscore records. I believe they're all records. So we've started with the records. That's what we have. It's our primary thing that we have queued up here. We do have shipments coming probably next week. I gotta lock that deal up tomorrow. And then we have larger shipments coming of other items, and that will be going into the other stores. So we've created that store here. Dave always says I have troubles pointing, and I do. We created that store here, the second store. So when that deal is fully finalized and the first truckload starts showing up, we'll start listing it into that store. But the live store right now is list easier underscore records. The second store is up, but nothing in it yet. Foghorn Lake says, Josh, is there any count for how many listings or which store the list easier listings are being pushed to? I was just going to lump them all together, Foghorn Lake, and just kind of, if people wanted to know which one was going to where, I would just tell them. But right now, everything is going into list easier records, and that will most likely be the case for the foreseeable future. Honestly, once we get rolling, where's LaSalle, Ontario? I think that once we get rolling, I think that it won't really, like, once we start seeing thousands of listings, tens of thousands of listings, I don't think it'll matter as long as I'm being open with the name of the accounts so that you guys can go to your eBay and just click follow on our stores. So right now, the one that's active and going is list easier underscore records, and that's where everything is going for now. Dan Decor Depot says an F-18 did a flyover at Pocono Raceway and nailed the afterburner, and it was definitely a shock and awe. Oh yeah, it was crazy. It sounded like just like you could hear it sonic booming. It was, feel it in your chest. I'm not that red, Beard. Welcome, Beard, by the way. I am not that red. I have a healthy kind of tan. I don't know why it's picked me up as red, but I don't have a burn or anything, but I did play 18 holes of golf. And those courses are fast in Florida. Very fast. Den Decor says they believe that the Etsy suspension was as a result of listing a prohibited item. Still, I think they would have warnings in place. I don't know. Foghorn Lake says, Josh, are you dripping or scheduling the listings to your account? We are dripping, so we don't have a draft bank or scheduling these items to go live. We put them live as soon as we do a batch. So we have a batch of, let's say, 50 items. Then we send it live through List Easier. Take the photos, generate, List Easier, live onto eBay. We just needed to clean up our process a little bit and work through some process bugs, which you're going to have, when you first start out an account, like shipping policies, for example. What else? Business policies, all these other things. We had to work on getting that stuff all together and checking the weights and see with the boxes and everything, what that was going to be. So that was this morning. And I think now we have our groove. But yeah, we're already at 166 and it's Monday at 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. So I'm really excited to watch these numbers go up over the next months, years. But no, we're not scheduling anything out. So we don't have from last month or 2 weeks ago a secret stash of like 10,000 listings that we're going to bleed in. We're just doing it live, showing every single thing, every mistake, everything we should have done and shouldn't have done and did and won't do and all those other things. So you're seeing it go live right now. Beanut says, used to go to the old modified sportsman champions race at Pocono back in the 70s. Was very cool. Motel made out like bandits. That's awesome. Oh, motel made out of old Pullman rail cars. That's super cool. Doug Majorwin says, hello all. Hope everyone is doing well and starting the year off strong. Everyone, I can see listing volume. I don't know exactly what accounts are doing what, but the listing volume on List Easier has been insane. End of December into January, it has been popping. So the stuff is going up, and that I would believe, and well, I know is corresponding to increased top line revenue for a lot of sellers. So It's awesome. Everything looks good. I'm super, super jacked for it all. Missy B says store not coming up for you on eBay. I'll have to take a look at that. I don't know why. It might. I don't know if it's indexed yet. I don't know. Everything is so new, Missy. And this, I'm not going to do this right now, but if it's not coming up, it will shortly. I don't know. It's like all the growing pains, the hurt pains. Like I'm looking at the store here. I can't share my screen. We have, yeah, we're live. We have all the messages from eBay of welcome and this and that. But I don't know. Hopefully, maybe it's an indexing thing. I don't really know. But it's live right now. And I think we have even one follower. Or we did before I started this broadcast. Sup, Dougie? Sup, Dougie? Everyone's saying hi. CJ Beatty says that wasn't that long ago. The 1970s? Are you saying the 70s wasn't that long ago or something else I said? Beard Picker says, working on building a business with my new BFF Chat GPT. Nice. Nice. Flip It Good says, hi, Josh. Good to see you. Flip It Good. Welcome. Doug says, smash the like so you keep your Batmobile schematic, Bearded Picker. B-Newt says, well, be careful with that Chat GPT thing, mister. My lights go out and I'm blaming you. Rob says, Primo Chemo, we need you back, man. Where are you? I agree. Let's go, Primo. Let's go. List Easier Record Store says sold out. It's an eBay thing. It's definitely an eBay thing. Give it some time. I don't know what's going on with it, but it's definitely an eBay thing. There's 166 listings. I don't know why it's not showing, but by the end of the day, one thing I did notice is that all of our listings, where it says the time left on the listing, it's 30 days, 20 hours, 46 minutes, or whatever the number is. So I don't know what's going on with it, but I think by tomorrow it'll be visible to everybody. But it's out there somewhere in the ether. Dende Cordipo says, I just followed, shows sold out. That's so weird. I don't know why. This is good to know. If it's happening to us, it'll happen to everyone. Clickbaited says, impressive that you kept moving forward. I remember a year or two ago, your eBay sales were in the tank for unknown reasons. Most would have given up. Thank you, Clickbaited. Clickbaited, for me, a lot of it was, there was nothing wrong with the business. I don't even think that my sales were in the tank. My sales were really good, but my sales were not keeping up with my expenses. So everything I made, I was putting back into inventory. And like everyone else, the cost of everything was going up. And I was really starting to feel the squeeze. And I knew that if I just kept going and kept growing, that I could outgrow this, what I was feeling. But it was so painful at the time. And yeah, I almost did give up, to be honest with you. Like I felt at times where I'm like, this isn't worth it. It looks like it'll be worth it in a year or two or three. But right now, I don't know that this is worth it. This is very, very painful. I would tell myself all these stories, clickbaited, that, I'm just not growing. Like I'm not growing fast enough. Well, I had 30% on average year-over-year growth. On average, 30% year-over-year growth. And that was coming from like a pretty large business. So if I took a step back, any other business that's doing 30% year-over-year growth, that's incredible. I'm only one person. But to me, it was like, I'm not paying my bills, really. This business isn't supporting itself the way it needs to. And it was very, very difficult. And yeah, I would tell myself stories like, hey, I'm 45 years old, or I'm 43 years old, or 42 years old. Like, this is not how I pictured my life, struggling this much to get this thing going. And I just didn't know, like, is this how it is? Does everyone experience this amount of struggle? Is it this painful for everyone? And other YouTubers were coming on here and saying it shouldn't be painful. It's easy. Building a business isn't that hard. And I was just like, I was in my own head. I'm like, what am I doing wrong here? Like, why is it so difficult? But looking back in reflection, I think a lot of it is, if you're at the stage of life where you have 2 kids, a house, bills, all this other stuff, and you're starting a business, it's going to be painful until the revenues catch up with your costs. And we lived in this unique period of time where e-commerce sales were slowing down. We were going through this little mini e-commerce recession, let's call it. Costs were going up, fees, everything else was going up. And I felt like I was drowning, and I had to learn a lot of lessons. And one of those lessons for me was trading my time for money, which is the business model that most people follow on eBay, where you go find something, you go list it. If you want to make more money, you have to work longer hours. That was not scalable. So that to me was not going to get me where I needed to go. And then being backed in a corner at the time, it forced me to try new things like branding. Well, hey, if I have a brand, I can charge a little bit more money for the same item and people will buy it from me because they trust my brand. Then it was, maybe there are more processes and efficiencies and niching down and all these things that I can do to do this at scale. And eventually pursuing that avenue led to meeting Super Dave, Travis the Brain, and Spencer the Oracle, very intelligent people, to create the software. And then it was like, it blew it wide open. So I can see it like traveling down a dark hallway and you don't know where you're going. And the only way to learn how to go and what the muscle memory of which way to go is to bump into a bunch of walls. And then eventually the hallway gets lit up and it's like this way. And that was the moment for me, really. Eric says, yeah, it's looking like it's sold out. I don't know why eBay is showing that. I have no idea. Foghorn Lake says, Josh, I mean, in the program for those stores that have limits, so extra charges can be avoided. Sorry, I wasn't more clear. Okay, so hopefully I answer it correctly this time. So when we hit limits, I believe we'll be okay for the monetary limits. They're pretty high. I think they were $50 million for the store, and I think that's more than enough. But when we hit the 50,000 listing limit, we're going to open a second store. Unless eBay were to reach out and say, look, you can have more listings, then we would just keep going. But in my own personal store, that's never happened. So we'll create a second store, a third store, et cetera, if that's what you're asking. As far as the store limits are concerned, like how many items we can put up. I don't think we're going to hit category limits, but we will, we'll hit a number of items limit. And I think that's where the store stops and we move to another one. Den Decor Depot says, hey there, major win, Dougie. Foghorn Lake says, Josh, are you backing up your listings with anything outside of eBay? So we were looking at, this is something that we are going to be building as well. So people have asked for like an insurance policy or a listing backup. We've talked about that. I don't know what that's going to look like, but like a repository where listings are saved so that if it's ever deleted, you could just click on regenerate or relist. Something we've talked about. Admittedly, we haven't built it yet, but it is something we've talked about, an insurance policy. Again, if we build something like that, and it is a good idea, because quite honestly, we have access to that data anyway. So we are creating and storing the data. We just don't do anything with it. now yet. But we could structure it so that it creates a little insurance policy. So if anything were to ever happen with your listings, like photos get removed or whatever else, you have all that information. That is a down the line thing that we've only surface talked about. So I don't know, I don't know what that looks like, but we've talked about it, Foghorn Lake. We've talked about it. Instarel Media says, I found the store, but no items show up. Search by store. E111SJ says, no inventory, list easier _records, 7 followers. I don't know why it's not showing. Everyone, I don't know why it's not showing. I have no clue why it's not showing any of it. Hopefully by tomorrow. It's certainly listed. The items are listed. I don't know why it's not showing anything on eBay. So this is going to be this is the first bump in the road, I guess, but the items are not populating as of right now on eBay. CJ Beatty says, no, all the easy thrift store finds. Yeah, they're gone now. You can't anymore. Well, I mean, there probably are places in the world. I still see sometimes people go to Desiree Industries and they find really amazing items, but like the real killer items, I was finding like Metallica shirts, like an Enter Sandman shirt from 1990 or something. I was finding Iron Maiden shirts with Eddie, like from the 80s, so late 80s, like super cool stuff like that. Records, like the coolest records. Video games, like Neo Geo stuff, like all that kind of stuff was available every time you went. Sometimes I would go at 2:00 in the afternoon and I would find this stuff. Not because they were bringing it out, it's just nobody bought it. Those days, I think, are gone. And I was at a thrift store, not too long ago, just out of interest. I had some time to kill, or there was somewhere I didn't want to quite go to yet. And I'm like, I need to catch my breath for a second. And it was all garbage. It was legit all garbage. And I know the thrift stores, at least Savers Value Village, they have a central processing location now, so that when you donate to them, they ship it to the processing location. They pull out certain stuff. They send it to a third party. They ship it back to the stores. Then the really good stuff goes under glass. And then, of course, everything else gets put onto the floor. And that central processing location is the reason why you see a lot of Christmas stuff at Christmas or a lot of Halloween stuff at Halloween. You don't find Christmas stuff in the thrift store at Value Village or Savers usually, in the summer because it's all being centrally processed. Right now, you might have, depending on your location, a hard time finding shorts or T-shirts at a thrift store. It's all being centrally processed, and they're bailing that stuff, and they're not sending it to the stores yet. So it's changed a lot. The game has changed. They were put on blast. They got the message. They're not leaking that stuff anymore. The profits are being retained. Kelly says, "Can you share a link to your store?" Definitely, I can. Definitely. You want a link, Kelly? Let me see. Oh, yeah, here. I just went to go share a link, Kelly, and it says on mine here too, it says, we are sold out, but here are some other stores you may be interested in. Weird, 17 followers. Why isn't it showing our stuff? That's strange. We'll have to get to the bottom of that. That is very strange. Yeah, it says we are sold out, but here are some other stores you may be interested in. We're going to have to figure out what's going on there. I'll put the link to the store. It's not going to do it because I did it under Dave's account and I have to make him a moderator, which won't let me do. Hopefully that worked. I hope that worked. And I'm making a huge mess here now. Hopefully that worked. But I put the link to the store in. I don't know why, Kelly, it's showing that. I really have no idea. I don't know what's going on here. We'll have it fixed. We'll have it figured out by tomorrow. Interesting. Eric Bressy says, Flex is coming. Flex is coming. Hang in there, Eric. It's coming. Foghorn Leg says, what are your current store limits? That is a good question. I can answer that question for you. If we go to... That's a good question. My selling limits, or our selling limits on List Easier _ records is... oh, I see what the problem is here. Oh, it's a $1 million limit. It's a $1 million limit. I'm gonna have to see why that's not showing up on the US sites. So right now, monthly limits is 75,000 item listing quantity, or listing 75,000 limit on quantity of items. So we can only list 75,000 items, and the dollar limit is $1 million on the store. Once we hit that, we're gonna have to. I thought it was higher than that. For some reason, I thought it was 50 million, but it's not. It's 1 million. Foghorn Lake says most new stores, even if paid accounts, have monthly limits there that are different from max listings and max dollar amounts. I don't know. I have to check that out, Foghorn Lake. Right now, the only monthly limits. Here, that's it. That's all I have is 75,000 limit on quantity, and then 1 million limit on items. So that 1 million limit we're going to hit pretty quick. That's the one we're going to have to watch. Hopefully they'll bump it for us when we prove ourselves a little bit. Yeah, Eric Gunter says it shows that there are no available items in your location. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I don't know what's going on, but we're going to have it fixed tomorrow, Eric. This stuff's going to happen, you know. Eric Bressy says current usage 871 out of 1,000 listings. I renew on the 15th, my birthday. Nice. Eric, that's awesome. Congrats. Rhiannon says, hey, Josh and chat. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Rhiannon, I did. I feel so relaxed. I played golf. I was on the beach. The food was so good. Like grouper, I had so much grouper. Grouper is like a fish you can't really find anywhere around here, but I ate so much grouper while I was down there. Swordfish. Oh, it's so nice. It was just so nice. Foghorn Lake says, Josh, currently List Easier only does fixed price listings, correct? Yes. Or does it suggest auctions for some items and amazing starting prices? So let me break that up, Foghorn Lake. List Easier auctions comes out with the Flex launch, as far as I understand. So that's already built. It's ready to launch with everything else. The starting prices, this is being worked on. So I don't want to talk too much about it. I believe James has tested it, but there is something working in the background. I just don't want to talk too much about the pricing thing because we're doing this off of our own data. We have some data that we've acquired, and we're just building the early models of it. For this kind of pricing, you need tens of millions of pieces of data to get it accurate and working properly so that the range is really good. So we are working on that, but right now it's all hands on deck to get Flex out. But that is a conversation we're going to be having very soon as far as pricing is concerned, Foghorn Lake. Very soon. CJ Beatty says, I'm lucky follower. I'm follower lucky 13. Nice. Yay. Found the store. Okay. Says no inventory for my location. Sure. It just needs time to propagate. I think that might be it, but we'll have it figured out. Between the minds that be, we'll have this figured out by tomorrow. I don't know why it is like that, but I don't even remember on my other stores if they were shown right away or not. Kelly Surfdude says, Foghorn, if you have an established store, you can have eBay match your limits. Mine are unlimited on all. Yeah, I started my own store, personal store, and I think it was 1 million limit. And then after I listed my first couple of items, they very quickly put it up to 50 million monthly limit. I don't know what it's going to look like for this store, but 1 million is too low for us. We're going to hit that quickly. Kenneth Oro says, let's keep the show going until the first sale. I don't think we're going to get it because the listings aren't showing up on eBay, unfortunately. I don't know why that is. Nice. Doug says, Ro has been catching up on our backlog. That's awesome. Using List Easier. Crush it, Doug. Doug, I really wanted to go. This is funny. I really wanted to go to San Diego because, and I was thinking about you guys. Everyone who goes to San Diego is like, it's just so beautiful. And I was like, I really want to go, and just like do my thing there. It's just beautiful. But I was like, oh, the flight's going to be so long though. It's like 5.5 hours from where I'm at. I'm like, then you don't get enough time. That was the only reason why. Turns out yesterday was like the longest. Today, whatever date it is, I don't even know. Like 4 o'clock in the morning, I was still in Florida this morning. So that it turns out that it probably would have worked out better and I would have avoided all this golf fiasco, I think. Clickbait, it says, I am happy you reached the end of the tunnel. You were really stressed out there for a while. I I don't know, Clickbait. Tell me what you think about this. And I still struggle with this. Is that struggle where you're stressed out and you're building and you're learning? Is that part of the process? Are those the growing pains that everybody has to go through to build a business? I'm starting to think yes. I really am starting to think yes. And I was talking to Pete, Craigslist Hunter, and he's like, don't think I didn't go through this. I lost my eBay accounts. I lost the other store. I was here as an immigrant, all these things. He goes, it just got harder and harder and harder, but I knew I could do it. And I knew in my mind it was going to work. And then eventually I found my path, and he would just say, keep going. And he even did a video where I was like, is this worth it? And he's like, it's a good question. I know your mindset, but it is worth it. You have to keep going. I think it's that hard for everybody. I really think that, if business is easy, you might not be trying hard enough. You might not be pushing your limits enough. I don't I don't believe in my heart, and maybe this is my own bias, that people go from zero to like these big businesses and they're financially doing extremely well without multiple pain points along the way. Like, how would you know exactly what to do to get to that point? You have to fail millions of times. And all those failures are really painful. That whole learning curve is painful. So when people say publicly or they do videos saying it wasn't painful, I found it easy, that to me, I'm just thinking you're protecting your ego because this is hard. Everyone I've ever talked to, literally, who's been successful in business has told me that it was very, very difficult to get to where they were, but they were proud of the hard moments. So it might just be part of it. And I had, I'm glad you bring this up, Clickbaited, because it's a really important part of my life, and it's a defining moment for me. But I remember having this discussion with myself that no matter what happens, God willing, I wake up in the morning and no one is going to come and throw me in jail because I did something wrong or I made a mistake. No one is going to cut you out of their life because you screwed something up. So every day will continue to happen. It's just whether or not you have like the mental fortitude and you can hang on financially, because the business was not, I mean, the business was growing, it was doing well. And years out, it would have got caught up with my bills, or it did get caught up with what my bills were. But at the time, man, it didn't feel like it. It really didn't. And I was like, you just gotta show up every day. And as painful as it is, just keep showing up and don't stop. And that push through point, when it finally happens, it just became a lot easier very quickly. But I wonder, does everyone have that experience, or are there people that just find it very easy and have always found it easy? Binut says there are a handful of AI apps coming out in 2026 for garage sale proprietors, thrifts, so they can price more effective. There are some, I guess. Well, Goodwill lost a lot of money support from DC. I didn't know about that. That they lost money from DC. Yeah, there are. I think there's two types of of apps out there or software for resellers, there are the wrappers, or they call them ChatGPT wrappers, where rather than asking ChatGPT itself, you ask the wrapper or the software, a question, and then it spits it back at you. So those are effectively ChatGPT wrappers, which can be great. They're just doing the processing for you and then sending it back. Then I think that the next level is like the deep integration. So you have multiple layers of prompt engineering. You have multiple layers, deep layers into APIs and connections and translating and predictive models. Like the people I think that are working on that kind of stuff, that's really where the next level is. And what that looks like for people using software is like it's just simple to use. eBay is like that itself. It can be frustrating at times, but you use the software. It's not always easy, but it's not always super difficult. But everything involved in eBay is so complicated. There's so much behind that. You just see a website, but there is so much there. And I think that's really where, that's where it's going with AI, I think. Sista Thrifta, welcome. Good to see you. Says, hi, Josh. When the recycler does become available, do you foresee any issues with recycling listings that have been generated with a different listing software? No, there won't be any issues whatsoever. The only thing is if the listings, Sista Thrifta, and I love that name, by the way, the only difference will be if the listings that you produce with a different software are not optimized, List Easier is going to optimize them for you. So we're not at the regenerator yet because we're still working on the Flex launch. That's the big one that everybody wants, UK and Australia. We got UK and Australia, they're like pounding the table now. Like we need this thing out here, like get this out. So that's our primary thing right now. But no, the only difference you'll notice is that whatever the other listing software has done, if it's not optimized, the regenerator will optimize the listings. In every case, we want to lead to conversions. We don't want the chat saying stuff like, I got a lot listed, but I haven't really noticed anything, any sales increase or anything. The good thing, what we do want to hear is what we're hearing, where my revenues are up. I've noticed a lot of offsite conversions, offsite views are higher, or listing impressions offsite are higher. All these other things, that's the feedback we want, and that's what we're converting listings to do. So we're taking those listings, we're optimizing it for onsite and offsite, so you get better click-throughs and sell-throughs. I'm not saying nobody else is doing that, but if they aren't, that listing is going to get changed and optimized so those items can get moving. You never want to just list or cross-list or anything for the sake of doing it, right? You don't want to just be dumping it into a black hole that no one sees. We want to make some money here. We're here to make money. So, and for us, if they're going to pay us to regenerate listings, we're going to get those things moving. Clickbait, it says, depends on the category. I still find it takes eBay 24 hours to show live listings. This could be clickbaited. I don't know why it's not showing. That could very well be, but we will get to the bottom of it. E111SJ says, my thrift messed up. Bought a 1 pound, 10 ounce sterling silver piece for 25% off. It came to $3. It's real. Woohoo. That's your gift. That's your gift. That's the fuel. That's the universe telling you, here you go, let's go. I'm giving you this one, the next one you work for. But congratulations, that's awesome. Yeah, silver is good money. Especially now. Mancore Products says, where are you, Mancore? Mancore Products says, is that on your new store or old store? So I'm mostly talking about my old store for my own personal business, which is wrapping up into List Easier. But the store that we've launched today is List Easier _records. That's today, launched first live today. Off we go. This is our 30-day countdown, and bam, we're going now. CJ Beatty says 19 followers. This has to be a record for the followers to items for sale ratio. No kidding. Yeah, I know. 19 to 0. E111SJ says, I got so lucky I went back to look for more, but there was none. Now I'm learning about other symbols to identify silver or gold. Yeah, it's a hot market right now, but if you know the maker marks, even something as simple as, I think if it says EPN or EPS on it, leave it behind. EPN, I believe, stands for electroplated nickel, and EPS is electroplated silver. That just means it's electroplated with silver, and there's some sort of base underneath, like copper or nickel or, some sort of base metal. But those are to avoid. So I used to, when I was thrifting, turn it over and look to see if it was EPS or EPN. And most William Rogers stuff was actually nickel plate, or was plated as well. So that stuff was rarely pure silver. But if you know your stuff, people used to give silver sets and candlesticks as a wedding gift because it was pure silver, like it was a thing. So it's definitely out there. D-Box says, will the software pick up on the fact that the CD was signed if it was an autographed CD? If not, how will you tackle that issue? So we have that with books, CDs, and cassettes where the author signs it or the artist signs it. Most of the time, that gets picked up in the description. So it will say in the description that it's signed by the author, or it's signed by the artist, or if this CD has been signed on the front of it in like a black marker or whatever the case may be. You got to remember too, sometimes the signature is going to look something like this. And then how do you know if that is the artist's signature or the author's signature, or someone just signed it because it was theirs? So it's done a very good job of identifying that it is signed, but certainly it would be harder to say who it was signed by. Although even that, most of the time it gets it. So a very, very high percentage of the time it will say in the description that it's signed. A very, very high percentage of the time it will say in the item specifics that it's signed, if it is. And a very, very high percentage of the time it will say who it is signed by. But not always. Not always. And you especially see that with old records where someone will write their name on the record because it was their record, and they would lend it out to somebody else back in the 70s and 80s, but they wanted to get it back, so they would sign it, but that wouldn't be an artist signature, but it would be a signature on the record. List Easier has done a very good job sorting the two out, but if there is a signature, definitely check to make sure it's what it's supposed to be, because it's just squiggly line. But if it says best wishes and then it's the signature, it tends to do a better job to recognize that, hey, that is the artist's signature. It's really cool software. It really is cool software and cool engineering. It really is. Rob Special Interest says, I'm follower number 11 in an empty shop. I don't know why it's not showing. I don't know why. But I do love the fact that these problems are showing up, because it makes it genuine. You all will experience stuff like this too, right? This makes it genuine that here we are on launch day and I'm like, we launched 166 items. I'm so pumped. And everyone's like, I don't see anything. What are you talking about? There's nothing in the store. So it makes it genuine. Like I can't control that. I don't know why it's not showing that. I don't know the answer, but I'm glad it's happening because, there's no making anything up, and we have this like weird thing where the items aren't showing up. I'm sure it will be resolved soon, but I'm really glad it's happening because it's transparent. Something bad's going on. I don't know what it is. But we're not going to get any sales if nobody can see anything. Dende Cordipo says, believe me, a grown-ass man was crying last night. This is painful at times, but today it's adapt and overcome. And that's it, Dende Core. And Den Decor is talking about the Etsy store getting shut down, and it just breaks you down. But I also found Den Decor that the more that happened, the less of a response it would get from me. I'm like, oh, this again, oh, well, this again. Here we go. Let's just deal with it. And like even the items now not showing up on the List Easier, not mine, the team's List Easier store. It is a team. We are a family. On that store, I'm like, I don't know why, but we'll figure it out. Like it's funny almost. Like, of course, this is gonna happen on launch day. No one can see anything. Beanut says, didn't have to worry about if I had money to get inventory. I was given $75,000 of credit from the near Getco list come every week, order, arrive, work. Yeah, I didn't. Man, I always feel like it was like a grind. Everything was started from nothing always, is how I felt. Amish mud sales in March, April are amazing. I'm going to skip a little bit of the back and forth. CJ Beatty says, lunch is almost over, Josh. You have other obligations. That is correct. Everyone, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate you all. Hopefully, these items will be visible tomorrow. Watch these numbers change. And everyone, please, nothing would make me happier. However you want to list, whether you use List Easier or you do it a different way or whatever, I want to see your numbers go up too. Let's all go through this year and just pound these stores, grow. I really am very optimistic for the future. I think this is a big year for a lot of businesses. And I say that with data because that's what was happening towards the end of 2025. You saw people in the last 4 months of 2025 just start getting vertical with listings, revenues, impressions, traffic, all this other stuff. Let's carry that momentum through. This is a new era. I'm here for it. I want to be a part of it. And with that, everyone, we'll see you tomorrow where we will be on, I guess, day 2 of the live store. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you